Hello, people are starting to join. So hey, Miss Baxter, I see you. Make sure I'm admitting everybody. It's been a while since I've Zoomed. It's taking me back to COVID days. All right.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good
Hi,
Good evening.
Sister.
evening.
Evening.
Miss Quesada, good to see you. I'm
Yep.
like, as you guys talk, your faces will pop up and I can see you. Miss Nordgren's here. Awesome. Here's Marcy. Yay. Fun.
Hey.
Okay. Um, Hopefully it'll keep notifying me when people join because I have to admit them every time it pop. I There wasn't a way for me to automatically admit, which I guess is good, but kind of. All right. So, today's gonna be kind of fast and furious, without Paul Walker, but we're gonna go through it because we've got about 40 minutes for our Zoom session. And we have a bit to go through. And let me see if I can share my screen here. It looks like everybody's admitted.
Turn it down.
Close out some of my tabs.
And down.
And then before I start, it should have prompted you this already, but just in case it didn't, if you could all um go ahead and mute your mics. That would be great. So there's no audio interference. I am recording the chat for any of our friends that couldn't make it today as well. So if you guys could all go ahead and hit the little mic button or mute yourself, that'd be great. Yeah. And go ahead and share my screen and we'll get started.
Welcome those of you who are just joining us. And we will be taking questions, but in case we do run out of time, which we will, I guarantee that it goes by so fast. If you type in any questions or concerns into the chat, I will pull all those questions from chat and put it into a document and send all those answers and concerns back out to all the parents. Um, by Monday next week, possibly tomorrow. Um, but we will
Yeah,
get all those answered for you for
perfect.
sure.
All right, so welcome, welcome. You all know me, Miss Abbasi. I am the 2D art teacher here. And then Mr. Rad,
Great.
Mr.
The
Ray.
art teachers, and ceramics.
And then we've got Booster here today, and I'm gonna try to go fly through everything. So Booster has some really fun stuff to share with you all too. And then hopefully everybody has access to this slide. So at some point, if you need to like refer to anything, you should have access to it. And I gave you the Google link so that you had the most up-to-date access. Because if we needed to share, adjust anything, we could do so. Um, I just got a notification that my internet is unstable, so let me move. All right, so we're gonna start with an intro. We're gonna go over our program. We'll do a program overview, and oh, two more people entered, and kind of just going over what your students are learning, kind of expectations for the students and for the parents, and list of upcoming events and how we grade, how we're assessing your apprentices, what we need from you as parents in particular, and kind of the whole point of having this meeting, and ways you can be involved either through us or through Booster. And then I'm not sure, like Mr. Reza, if we'll have time for Q&A, but of course, if you do have questions, just throw them in the chat. We'll take a look at them, and then we're gonna just send an email out to everybody. So we'll keep going. Okay, so program overview. We know that IMTerrell is a specialized campus for art students. When they join in, they do, previously it was like an audition process. Now it's more of a screening. And so most students are admitted. However, the way they pass their portfolio review, how they pass their portfolio review is determines kind of their trajectory for the 4 years. So, for example, this year, and there's been many changes in the district since, I've worked in the district 6 years, but the last 2 years seems to be the most change I've seen. So, typically, a student comes in freshman year, and in high school, they always start with Art 1, which is basic foundational art. This is how you draw the basic facial proportions. This is how you shade, vice versa. But in IMTerrell, they actually skip that foundational phase, and we throw them right into Art 2. And Mr. Ray and I will kind of assess where they're at and try to fill in those gaps if they need it. But for the most part, IMTerrell, the expectation is that they have those foundational skills already. Now going forward, we've actually been talking and we are going to be adding an Art 1 class back next year. So that's good for future freshmen. So if you have a family member or younger siblings that are coming, there will be an Art 1 next year. So freshman year, it's pretty standardized. Freshman and sophomore year, they're always all 4 years, they're going to take a 2D with a 3D class. However, when they go up into junior and senior year, they have the option to add in more of those specialized courses. And at IMTerrell, we really expect the students to be independent learners, to look at what their own interests are and set their own goals. And we'll check in with students to see if they're making those goals, through like a portfolio review process that's required at the end of every semester. And that portfolio review is them kind of keeping track of their own portfolios through Google Slides, and they're supposed to be listing their goals, listing their areas of growth, listing their weaknesses with Mr. Ray and I, and whatever professional artists that we've asked to join us. So that portfolio review at the end of the semester is one that your student just did, so you can have them even show it to you, and that determines their semester exam, final exam grade. And it also helps us in goal setting for them for their next year. So our freshmen this year, well, going back to next year, we had three incredible freshmen who actually made it to state in vase. So a lot of them were we allowed into taking some junior level courses, even though they're sophomores this year. And that was all determined through their portfolio review. So um, and it's always just a great time to check in with students and see how they're going, and they get that one-on-one time with us. So, here's the trajectory. These are the classes, the actual names of the classes, and this is what we've got. Okay, so moving into my classes in particular, um, we have at IMTerrell, because it's just Mr. Ray and I teaching it, we don't have like a specifically, a jewelry making instructor, or we don't have a specific like drawing instructor like you would see at Arlington Heights that has like 6 art teachers. We keep our classes as survey courses. So we'll be offering Art 1, we now have Art 2, we have Art 3, just standard classes where at a glance you can see here we kind of go through um, your basic teaks for those subjects, and then we'll kind of explore those subjects through different media. So, depending on the project. So, usually in the first 6 weeks, I'll teach really fast, like observational contour drawing. We'll talk about still life. But the expectation again is that they already know those, so it's more of a review. And then we review elements and principles of design and those key vocabulary terms that'll be important all through their years in high school. We'll go into color mixing. In the third 6 weeks, we'll be going more into conceptual explorations, which is on track for AP art, where they kind of come up with their own concept, whatever they want, but they have to explore it through drawing, painting, and printmaking. In the fifth 6 weeks, in the fourth 6 weeks where we're at now, I'm having them do some exploration through fiber arts. And I'm working on that with Miss Harding, and we're also going to do A little bit of work with the STEM department, depending on which class too, right? Because what they're doing in Art 2 isn't what they're doing in Art 3. So 4 6 weeks a little bit varied. So you're going to see a lot of different things. Fifth 6 weeks is about community. I'd like to bring in some local artists to come in and talk to the students. And then 6 weeks, the sixth 6 weeks is going to be a full-on artist choice with a big presentation at the end. Um, and keep in mind, on top of all their projects they're doing, they're supposed to be doing independent visual journaling and sketchbook assignments that go with their projects. And then at the end of the projects, they're supposed to be doing a written essay on their art as well. So we do integrate writing in our program quite a bit. And then Mr. Ray's got this slide for 3D.
Yes, and going back to the sequence that the slide that was just up, that is a blanket for all art teachers, no matter what, if you teach intro art or advanced art or elementary art, all the way up to AP art in high school. But that year at a glance is something that is expected of all of us to follow as of this year. That's some new things, and there's some changes being made in like specific courses that focus on what were the courses called again? My brain, like specific courses just cover like photography. We're keeping sculpture and likely ceramics, but anyways, I'm kind of getting off t a task here. But with the 3D sequence, um, these are everything that we get through by the end of each year within each of these classes. And each of the beginning assignments is typically a build up to prepare the student for the next assignment. So each assignment is hopefully to help to instill some sort of encouragement and self, uh, give them a bit more, have them be like proud of themselves and just have like developed like their talent and how they're feeling about themselves. My words are not coming to me this evening for whatever reason, so I apologize. But each project and each assignment is to build upon itself in order to move along, and to have the student be successful and not deter themselves and being happy with their outcomes, but we still do challenge them throughout the whole thing. But if you do have any questions about any of these items that we do cover in each of these classes, feel free to reach out to me or Miss Abbasi for either of these slides. But we attempt to cover everything that we can with the resources that we do have, and give them as much experience as they can in our studio spaces. I think that might be what I have enough for that right there. So
All
we
right.
good.
Okay. And then I wanted to remind everybody about our program resources. And I'd really like to see more students utilizing the after school open studio and tutoring that we have. I say both because it's a chance for both. Typically in art, we're a serious school and we expect our students to work bell to bell. My expectation as the teacher is that they do come in, they work bell to bell, and there shouldn't really be a whole lot of off-task behavior. There shouldn't be cell phones. I do enjoy when they do talk with each other, but if that means they're not working on their art, that's when I'll check in. But Open Studio is a really great time because they can come in and work on their art with a friend and they can be social and talk and work on their art at the same time. And that's always a really good time for me and Mr. Ray to, get to know our students. And we really enjoy that time. And students that regularly come always have good feedback about it. And then on top of that, I can tutor them, so if they need one-on-one help, they're having trouble drawing this eye, or they really are having a hard time with the background, like I can sit with them and give them that attention that I can't always do in class. Um, and then on top of that, when they're here after school, they have access to all the other resources we have. Like we have a room where they can photograph their work. We have the Mac Lab. That was very helpful when technology was kind of rocky at the start of the year. They of course have access to their portfolio room. Both the 2D and 3D studios. And also, if they talk with Mrs. Lugo, they can use any of the STEM equipment if they need that in their art as well. But, of course, they'd have to check with her ahead of time. But she's usually here after school on Thursdays as well. So there's so many resources, and I'd like to see the students utilizing them more. However, I do know that transportation is an issue. We have many students who ride the bus, so they can't utilize Thursdays. So, if you could talk with your student and see about making a plan to come to those, I think they would really be beneficial for them. On top of that, we have partnerships. So currently, I'm working on a partnership program with Kinfolk House that would be after school on Wednesdays. Students would get transportation from IMTerrell to Kinfolk House every other Wednesday after school, and parents would need to pick them up from Kinfolk House. I can give you more information on that later, but the applications have just opened, and it's just open for IMTerrell students, so it's really exciting. We have our Modern Art Museum partnership where we visit them 3 times throughout the year. And we have 2 students right now that have a paid internship at the Modern Art Museum through that program, which is great. We have UTA art education students who come and visit our students, and we also have museum educators from the Amon Carter who do come and visit with our students as well. There are clubs. We have National Art Honor Society where students must be passing and in good standing, but if they are, they get to be part of that honor society. We have Architecture Club Mondays in my classroom during lunch. We have a charity crochet club, and they have been doing really fun stuff crocheting, and they are sponsored by Dr. O'Neill. There's a craft club with through the librarian, and we also even have a study abroad program we're starting. So lots of fun stuff. So if you ever have questions about this, reach out to us. Sorry, I know I'm talking fast, but we've got so much to go over. Okay, so these are our expectations for students. So attendance policies are going to be exactly how they are for the district. However, we've noticed when students are absent from art, it's quite difficult for them to catch up because they're missing on art and making and studio time. And when they go to credit recovery, they're in an auditorium and they don't really have access to the art supplies. So if they're gonna miss, I hate to say it or put it on other teachers, but I'd really like them not to miss on an art day if they can, but I know that those doctor's appointments and things are important. But again, if they are missing, that Thursday open studio is such a great time for them to come. Cell phones they're not allowed in our classes. That's a campus policy. It's also a policy that Mr. Ray and I have because we've noticed when they're on their phones, they're not working on their art. I get the excuse a lot that's, well, I'm using my phone as a reference. And my response to that is email it to yourself, put it on your laptop, and then you have an even larger picture to look at on your laptop screen, and you don't have to worry about your screen dimming constantly. But I know that we are always understanding of emergencies, but we'd like to remind parents that if there is an emergency, to contact the main office, and so it's not a distraction to your student or to any other students. Food and drink is not allowed. We do have chemicals and things that we work with sometimes that, could make your apprentice sick if they get it mixed with their food at all. And originality, this is usually an issue with our freshmen, but students shouldn't be copying other work. Sometimes they have these animes they really like or cartoon characters they really like and want to draw in their artworks, but copyrighted material is not allowed, particularly because we do have so many shows and competitions, and those are prohibited anyway. So students should be, coming and creating their own artistic voice here. Students have to have their own art supplies. They have to buy their own art supplies and purchase them. We have a list through Amazon. It's a Amazon basic IMTerrell starter pack for art majors. It's got everything in it. And we provide the students with consumables. So like with the paper, pencils, like those kinds of things. But, mixing trays, paint brushes, the bins that they carry things in, those are all going to be things they need to maintain on their own and learn how to maintain on their own, which is so important as an artist to know how to keep up with their own supplies. I'm a professional painter myself, and I've had the same set of quality brushes for 10 years now. So, and I'm always trying to teach them how to take care of their equipment because that's what real artists do. But let us know if you have questions about that. Their support if students need it. Um,
With the Amazon list, that's like more of an intro list. We switch it from freshman list. But when we move up to the upper level classes, depending on how the schedules work for each individual student, one schedule may work for one student, another may not, depending on what credits come in and what classes they need to take. So the materials that may be needed associated to specific classes that they're taking with us, that will be listed in our Canvas page with our syllabus in there. We don't make a list for freshmen and sophomore and juniors and seniors because each of those students might be taking a different class there that particular year. Just didn't want to create any confusion with that as well.
okay. Thank you, Mr. A.
Cool.
Yeah, the only other specialized list I have as well is for the advanced painting class because I wanted them to have their own quality paint sets. But on top of that, students should be checking Canvas and their weekly agenda that they're required to write down all the time for their, to help them stay on track. If a student comes to me and asks me, why is my grade a 70 right now? And I'm like, well, did you check your grade book and tell me what you're missing? And I always make them go check it before I tell them because they need to have that independence. And then parents, the biggest thing I need from y'all is to please, please, please make sure that they're spending time outside of school working on their art. None of our projects that we have, they'll be able to get done with just 3 hours a week because, we'll see them an hour and a half Monday, an hour and a half Wednesday, maybe on Friday, but that's not enough time to get a nice quality artwork done. They need to be working on it after school. So, parents, if you could make sure they're spending about 2 to 3 hours outside of school working on their art, we would really appreciate that, and it'll only make them a more successful artist. Parents, our expectations of you all for student success is to make sure you're signed up for the parent portal link. That will give you access to Focus, which is where their grades are located, and Canvas. Canvas is what Mr. Ray and I use as our learning management system, and all directions for assignments, all important information is on Canvas. Mr. Ray's Canvas gets synced to Focus daily. Mine, I sync usually right before progress reports and right before report cards. So we do that a little different, but it's up to you to make sure that you're, working with your students and making sure you're checking Canvas. Um, their attendance should be updated on Focus, so keep an eye on that. Students have a certain amount of class they can miss before they lose credit. Email, make sure that you're regularly checking your email. That is an expectation that we have of all of our students and parents because we send out important information and updates and newsletters. And if you're not checking your email, you may miss important information. And then please, please, please come to our students' art shows when they have them and their competitions. We try to make it accessible and after 5 or 5:30 so parents can make it. But it's, your students work so hard and we would love to just see you come out and show your support and support the other students whose maybe parents can't get out of work and come. It's always great to have a community. Occasionally, we will need parent chaperones for events, like we'll have a field trip. We have a big vase competition coming up where we'll need a lot of hands on deck because we're there for about 8 or 9 hours without food. So if someone could bring us food, we would love you. And Saturday studios as well. We're there from about 9 to 2, and so any help. Or Saturday studio, you can just come on in and do some art yourself if you wanted. It could be a fun time for you.
Therapy.
Yeah, smart therapy. You have, feel free to grab one of our brushes and some paint and a paper and you can get to it too.
And would you like me to give your voice a break for a minute, Miss Abbasi?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. We have about 14 minutes left. I'm gonna try to buzz through this not too quickly, so I don't want to miss any important items. But Every item that you see on this events and competitions is not every single thing that we are doing for the remainder of the semester. We do have an art space Canvas page that every student at this point should have access to, unless somehow they've slipped through the cracks. But every single opportunity that is sent our way was put out there. Um, our primary focus when we get back from the winter break and moving forward until about March is the vase competition and several of the other competitions in the district is kind of where the district and the directors above us. They actually have their office physically above us at our school. It's kind of how they get a thermometer on how the art programs are doing, depending on how the awards are doing, of how many students have gone to state. So we invest a lot of time into that, um, just with the way that the machine works, and we get that. And but we like to provide other opportunities, and then also in addition to that, the booster parents club provides so many other opportunities besides this that can help supplement that with other opportunities to work with other artists. Um, but our primary thing right now is this is the busy season. It doesn't really slow down, but it's we hit the ground running. Um, the first few weeks are a little slow, but we're preparing for everything else. But you can see here we have Saturday studios that are listed up in here, our district art show, senior TCC show. Of course, we have this art banquet that the art booster parents are putting together. We are super excited about that. I know they are too, so that's going to be amazing. I'm just super stoked about that. This will be our very first one that will be happening. But you can see those dates on here, and all y'all do have access to this through email that we sent, this slideshow, so you can access all this information. Is there anything that I missed on here, Miss Abbasi? Um,
I
Miss-
mean, there's a lot of like smaller events that I didn't go in and put. So I'll be adding those to the newsletter, but these are like the priority ones that we have right now. And um Mrs. King asked about safe cities, which is also one that we do. And we had quite a few students do well on that last year, but I think we're good. Do you want me to go into grading or did you want to?
yeah, let's go through that real quick.
Okay. Grading is based off of three categories. We grade based off of two major projects of 6 weeks. So if you divide that in half, they should be completing two quality art projects of 6 weeks. Okay. Sometimes project one will be divided into two smaller projects, like maybe two like sketchbook projects or a print. But typically the way the grading works is we'll have two major art projects a 6 weeks. So one before progress reports, and then one at the end of the 6 weeks. We do written assignments, so all artworks have an accompanied written reflection. Students do a critique at the end of every project where they critique one another. I do that usually digitally through a discussion board. That's how I always did it in college, so that's how I do it. Mr. Ray does them in person. So I'm heavy on the writing in my class. And then they also should be actively taking sketch notes. And studio habits is the third category where students should be on task. They should be participating. They should be showing progress and growth in their work. Um, they should be showing experimentation. There's actually 8 studio habits of mind. It's a Harvard research thing that they did where they divided a artist brain into 8 key points, and so we look for those in their in the classroom. And so this isn't just, oh, did they get that 50% done? We're looking at that 50% with, did they stretch and explore? Oh, we have 10 minutes left.
Yeah, we have the 10 or 8. I can't see a timer from my end,
Mine just
but
popped
now
up
I
and said
can. Now it
10.
just showed up. Okay, I see.
um
Oh, longer than I thought.
and then so Yeah, and then participation. And again, cleanup grades are very important. It's an important studio habit. Good artists know how to take care of their materials and their spaces. Um, our program here is very much based on, concept. Because again, the expectation at IMTerrell is your student came in with that foundational knowledge of art, right? So they're coming in and we're giving them prompts. So for example, in Art 3, they just had a project where they had to come up with one concept and they had to present it in three different ways. So they had to do it through a drawing, through a painting, and through a print. And that is aligned with the AP curriculum where they're determining their own concepts and developing their own concepts, like in a sustained way where they kind of can grow off of it. So our whole program really is based around creative freedom. And then late work policy, we just abide by our campus late work policy. So this is every classroom should be doing this. So we do allow students actually to be up to 4 days late on their work. However, if it's 1 or 2 days late, the most they'll get is a 70. So they'll get a 70 if they followed the project requirements to the T. And if they didn't, then points will be taken off from that 70. Same thing, if it's 3 to 4 days late, they'll get a 50 at most. So again, we really want to encourage that they're turning in stuff on time. And the only way to do that is if they're working outside of the classroom as well as staying on task bell to bell in the art studio. Um, we have a couple students that are involved in a lot of other things. We have a very talented robotics student, Savannah, who's great, and we have a lot of choir students, and we even have just students who really focus a lot on contest heavy. And so they'll say, "Hey, I really want to do this, but I'm also working on this. Is there a way I could turn in my painting on Friday instead of Wednesday?" And of course. But the policy is they have to ask me that in advance. If they tell me the day of, the answer is no, and they'll get that 70. So it's all up to the students to be self-advocates for themselves and to put those kinds of things in writing and keep track of their due dates. And same thing with a student with an IEP or a 504. If they have an accommodation to turn things in late, they don't have to ask me in advance. However, after those 2 days. So it's if it's 4 days late, basically it'll be they can turn something in 6 days late. But after that, even if they have an IEP or 504, the most they'll get is a 70 because and there's no IEP or 504 that says they can turn things in whenever they want. It's within a set parameter of time and we will hold them accountable to that. And if anyone's not familiar with Canvas, you can get with your student and they can show you it. I find looking actually at grades in Canvas to be confusing. So I recommend going to the modules where we have it divided into units. And so for that assignment, I talked about the one concept, three mediums. You can actually like click into that and it's a whole module and you can see where where we're at. And if you click into it, you can see if it's been submitted or not. So Canvas is the most up to date. So this right here on the right is what Canvas looks like. On the left, you'll see this is a freshman art major, and you can see this is their whole schedule. This is their grades for the third 6 weeks. You can see up here where it says third. I don't know if you can see my mouse. Hopefully you can. And you can see all their class periods, their teacher name. You can see if they've had any absences, any tardies, and you can look at their grades. So make sure you're checking both. Canvas is going to be the most accurate. Sometimes I like to put in the 0 in Canvas, and a lot of times that'll get them going and like turn it in quickly before that 70 hits. And then if it's still not turned in, then I'll port it over to Canvas or I'll port it over to Focus, and that's when it's pretty set in stone. Okay, we've got 5 minutes for parent involvement. I hope that's enough for Mr. Ray and Booster Club.
I think so. I have my camera off because I developed a nosebleed, and I don't think anybody wants to see what is in my nose right now.
Don't.
So, um, Booster, they amazing parents. Eric Ashenhurst is our booster president. all this information right here, getting on band, getting on the website with Loam. The Loam's a really great website. Believe was it Marcy? I'm trying to remember who. There so many different parents were involved in getting everything up and running, but the Loam website is very good for being able to access and sign up for everything. Um, and of course, email if you have emails, you just want to directly contact the booster with that. And over here, if you want to sign up, I believe I haven't the link works, but I haven't gone and actually looked at it yet this since today when I put it in there. But I believe that will have access to uh, maybe opportunities that you might, maybe strengths that you may have. Rachel or Erica, do y'all have anything that y'all would like to add into this
Um,
until
Four
moment?
minutes. Go ahead.
I think Rachel wanted to kind of go over senior cards for just a minute, and Michelle
Okay.
wanted to explain the loam, if that's cool.
Yes, go.
Okay, real quickly, if you have a senior or if we need your help, we're going to make senior note cards, a collection of a piece from every senior and turn those into note cards, or you can buy a piece, several copies of one piece. And that's going to be one of the main um, fundraisers for a senior arts student scholarship. So just know that's coming. And if you can get grandma, grandpa, aunts, uncles, or whomever to purchase those, that will go directly to our seniors.
Yes.
And then the loan.
Michelle said that her Zoom dropped. So loam is going to be where you can go for any opportunities to volunteer. And it's really awesome. Once you sign up, it'll ask for your number. It'll send you a text reminder and give you a survey after about how it went overall, so that we have that feedback. So anything like the senior note cards, the purchase is available on the Cheddar Up app, and then any volunteers is going to be on the Loam app. And then communication for booster is through band.
Okay, great. So please, please, please join Booster Club. Even if it's just one event you want to volunteer for, we would be so grateful. Um,
And
and
some
then,
lots of information is posted. We try our best to not overwhelm, but give you enough information through email. But sometimes it's easy to miss things. I miss items that my son's school sends out sometimes, but sometimes I'll go through the Booster app to see if I've missed something by telling parents. So it's I kind of held accountable by Booster without them possibly even knowing using those apps and social media. So thank you.
great. Okay. So we got a few questions in the chat. If you have any last questions, go ahead and type them now before your minute's up, and we will email out a list back to you all. I'm sorry again for all the emails, but we want to just make sure everybody's getting all their information. And then in our last 1 minute we have, I want to remind families of 2026, so not this summer, but the summer after. There is an art trip to Spain led by Mrs. Lugo and myself. And it'll be a really great opportunity. Miss Lugo is handling all the logistics, and I'm doing the art stuff. So I want to thank everybody for coming. And I know it's a cold day, and I hope everybody's out there staying warm. And we appreciate your time so, so much and all of your support. We are looking forward to a great semester.
Can you hear me?